Welcome back to the Adulthood Podcast, volume 67, coming at you Sunday, July 21st. If you want to see me, I'm in Paris. I'll be in Paris for the next 2 weeks. When I come back, I got Milwaukee, I got New Orleans, I got a couple days. Check out ianlaralive.com for more dates. 8 p.m., where you going to be at?
I will be at Miss Lily's actually this Friday, so come through. And then also, I'm going to be around. Big shout out to Panda. Find me on Panda Harlem.
All right, I don't want to waste too much of your time because we get in it. I start off hot. This is a hot one. We get into it immediately. Thank you guys for listening to the Adulthood Pod. Give us a like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff.
Later.
Peace. Welcome back to the Adulthood Podcast. This is the #1 health and wellness podcast in the hood. I'm Ian Lara, that's DJ APM, Marty B, the producer behind the glass, and Johan the Zohan, making sure that the sound is good. I'm coming in hot, man. I don't have time to waste.
I can feel the energy. Look, go right in, B.
If I'm off today, I got to apologize because I had a traumatic experience just recently. Earlier this week, I put on another man's do-rag.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't feel good about it. It's I've had a headache ever since.
I can't even imagine.
That's like the most intimate thing I think I've ever done. I mean, putting on another man's do-rag, that's like putting on his underwear.
Now, my question is, was this in your place of residence? Or,
no,
I mean,
no.
Obviously we're going to
Here's the story. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault because there's certain rules that I follow. I was at the barbershop getting a haircut and I'm getting my haircut and I thought that I put my do-rag on his table. Yeah. I thought I put my do-rag on his table. So I'm sitting there, I get in the haircut. It takes about an hour and 90 minutes. I get up after the haircut is done. I pay him and I'm like, all right, let me put on. So I put on the do-rag that was on the thing.
Oh, no.
And the dude sitting there that was next was like, yo, that's my do-rag. And I'm like, I thought about just getting the baldy and starting
right
over.
Then and there.
Yeah,
right
just cutting it all off.
Right then and there.
But also I'm like, bro, you don't put your do-rag on the table when another man's on the chair.
Who raised you?
That there, I've been hot all week. I've been getting into like road rage arguments because I just feel off.
Did you wash your hair? Like what do you
wash my hair?
What do you even do in this?
I washed it with dishwashing
with, like,
soap.
bleach?
Yeah, I felt headaches. I've been dizzy, nauseous a little bit.
What's the purple one? Fabuloso?
Yeah, I've been trying everything, man. Okay. I think I'm just gonna I have to
start from the top.
Get a baldy and then jump in the ocean backwards and really cleanse myself of all the bad karma.
You have any shows in Minnesota?
No.
You go to Lake Minnetonka.
Oh, maybe I'll just burn my hair and sage it.
Okay.
Really cleanse myself. But I've been off the whole time. I'm irritable.
Okay.
I've been on edge.
All right.
So if I'm coming off a little aggressive, this is why. I'm dealing with stuff.
Like this is a do-rag conspiracy.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I seen that on Law and Order one time, bro.
You saw the episode with the do-rag thing?
Do-rag conspiracy.
Damn.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I can't tell you because you got to watch it.
Marty, do we have a phone call? The number, we always put the number to the voicemail. If you send us a voicemail, we'll just jump right into it. We'll just start the episode with your voicemail. So like that, a lot of times people are like, oh, when you're going to answer it, and you don't have to look for it. So if you send us a voicemail, we'll get right into it at the beginning of the episode.
Hey, Ian, Lara, DJ PM, Marty, and Johan, long-time listener. Got a quick question. What's the proper etiquette when you're meeting someone significant other? Like say it's your homeboy's birthday party and his girlfriend comes, right? Like, if he doesn't introduce you to her, do you just like stand around and like, I guess just ignore her presence? Like, do you wave? Like, do you just talk to other people? What is the proper etiquette here? Because it's, for me, I just usually unless they introduce me, I just ignore the presence, which is, I don't know what's the best way to do it, but let me know. And I appreciate you guys. Big fan of the show. Keep it going.
First of all, thank you for calling.
Thank you for calling.
I think he's his third time caller. We appreciate these questions because these are all good questions.
Great questions.
And nobody's asking these questions. So it's important that you bring them up.
CNN.
What do you got for him?
I would treat it as almost like a wingman situation because technically you are in a wingman situation and your objective is just to make your friend look good. As far
in front of
as
his girlfriend, right?
Yeah. As far as the non-introduction, there's different ways for you to handle that. Depending on your relationship with the friend, you just address it like, hey, I don't know who taught him manners, but I'm such and such.
See, I disagree because then it goes against what you originally said. You don't want to make him look bad.
No, but depending on the relationship. Because if that's like something that's known, then you turn it into a joke.
Some women know if you don't introduce them, they feel away. So I wouldn't want to get them in trouble later on and have her bringing it up like, oh, so you don't want to introduce me to my friends?
Why are you hiding me from your friends?
Sometimes I've been around some girls or guys sometimes where I'll tell them before anyone comes around, I'm like, listen, if I don't introduce you, introduce yourself because I don't know this person's name.
Prerequisite.
So help me out.
Yeah.
And just be like, I'm giving you the pass to be like, I'm so-and-so.
Yeah.
And they'll say it back. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, Tiffany, I didn't introduce you to George.
Yeah.
You know? And then I just look like a little bit rude, but I don't look like as a guy who forgot the name.
I've fallen into that situation plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's weird to just sit there in silence and not say nothing.
That's definitely weird. You look like a serial killer.
Yeah, I think you gotta just be like, but I would say play it cool. Just be like, hello, you know, I'm Ian. You know, good to meet you.
Boom.
Or if you really want to make them look good, you could be like, hey, I'm Ian. I've heard a lot about you. That's a trick, even though you never even knew she existed. Your boy never brought her up.
Advanced.
Yeah.
That's
and then
advanced.
You be like, I'm Ian. Nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
But what about the counter? Because you have to have counters ready. Well, what did you hear?
Only good things.
Okay.
You don't got to get specific.
You don't have to get in specifics.
Only good things.
Because we want to make sure we give them all the tools.
Yeah, just only good things. Okay. And then if your boy is crafty, he will know where to take it.
He comes right in.
Yeah, you know where to take it. Like I told you, I've been telling everyone about you, you know?
Boom. See, that's another advanced move. So make sure, like, we clip this up so he can play this over and over again.
I like to give people advice, but I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I don't think y'all equipped for the advice that I give y'all.
Because it's too high level?
Yeah.
It's like,
a lot of times I feel like Michael Jordan telling people how to dunk from the free throw line. Just jump.
Everybody can't do it.
Right.
That's why
in my head, I'm like, I'm going to tell you the things, you could do it.
That's why Mike couldn't go into coaching.
Yeah, that's why.
To him, it's simple.
I'm just like, just jump and put it between your legs.
Duh. Like, what else do you need?
Right, right. So if I'm giving you some tips that you be like, oh, I can't do that, I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm doing my best though.
You're working on yourself.
Yeah.
There you go.
I got more, man. I got more.
You still hot? You still coming hot?
Yeah.
Yo, what happened?
I'm hot, then I'm cold. I'm yes, then I'm no. I'm in, then I'm out.
What happened, bro? What happened?
That's how I'm feeling today.
Damn.
Have you, and you know this is the Adulthood podcast. We like to keep it honest. People love it when we keep it honest. That's why I think they come back. All of the episodes that they love is when somebody call me a little gay man. You know, all the stuff where like, you know, your hairline, all that stuff. Yeah. That's what people love.
Keep it real, son. My Gap.
Now,
Gap 2 Productions.
I don't know if you've ever talked about this. I don't know if we've mentioned this, but have you ever had a girl tell you that you weren't adequate to her liking sexually?
Yes.
See, I got to pause here.
Yes.
Because he could have easily lied. Who would question him if he just says no? He could have easily lied. But this is what we provide for you guys. We provide for you guys truth and realness. So when it happens to you, you don't got to be embarrassed. You know how to handle it. Elaborate.
But so it's not what you're thinking, or is just like kind of different. I don't know if I should like share this kind of vulnerability, but it's also,
of course you should. That's what they're here for.
If we're gonna just be transparent,
I'll give you mine too.
Okay, it was your
my what?
No, this was what she said to me.
Okay.
She said that big thing's not coming in here. I was like,
well, that's not exactly what I was.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. That's why I'm like, it's not like the typical. It's like it's kind of like it's like flipped. And I can't share this with people because people are like, oh, you're lying, this, that, and the third. But it's like a true story. And I'm like, this has never happened.
I don't think you're lying. I've had stuff like that. I don't think you're lying, but I think that, you know, compatibility sexually is something that doesn't get talked about a lot.
It doesn't.
I think we live in a society where people like to pretend that they're universally good.
That doesn't happen.
Is no one's universally good.
No.
I've had a situation where in my life, I've had both. Like, if I'm being completely honest, I've had both.
Where it's trash?
No, I have women that'll tell you that I'm the greatest. And I have women that'll tell you that I'm not.
Same. That's life.
I don't hold on to any of them. You're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as they think you are. You're somewhere in the middle.
I've also had experiences when I know I was trash, and then you just laugh.
too.
You just like, hey, I ain't have it. What you want me to do?
Me too.
Right?
Me too. That's been there. I think generally speaking, for men, and I'm okay with this, but men, we kind of got to stay quiet with this kind of stuff.
There's no support for us.
No, we get called whack and trash.
Yep.
And we just gotta be like, okay, because we can't be like, well, you were trash also.
Or you don't even know what I'm going through emotionally.
Right. you can't do that. If you tell a woman, I feel like, that she was bad in bed, your relationship is essentially done.
Yes.
I don't think they'll be able to come back from that. I think they'll work on it for somebody else.
But for you,
there's
no room for coaching either.
No. If you do it, it has to be done in a very like romantic and enlightened way.
It almost has to be done in like a friends with benefits kind of way.
You bring up a great point.
I'm here.
You bring up a great
What's
point.
the number? 347?
You bring up a great point with the friends with benefits situation. Because here's the thing with friends with benefits, and we've all been there. We've all been friends with benefits, somebody who we're sexually involved with, who aside from the bedroom, we absolutely hate. Right?
That's it.
We've been there. I don't think you can compare a friends with benefits relationship into a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. Sexually, I mean. Because a friends with benefits has a certain type of freedom.
More explorer.
Right. That your relationship, it's just hard to get.
Yes.
When there's other stuff going on.
External pressures.
Most friends with benefits that I've known, that I've participated in, or that I've known in life, like they're friends, but there's not a lot of like arguing or dating or hard feelings.
No.
It's kind of like we're just friends and occasionally we meet up and hook up.
It's a prerequisite. You have to have that conversation.
When you're in a relationship with somebody, there's different things into play.
Totally different.
I don't think you can expect, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you can expect to have the same type of, for lack of a better term, sexual relations with a partner that you did with a friends with benefits. There's a level of not caring about your friends with benefits that it's too difficult to replicate in a relationship.
That is Ian Lara. I'm his running mate for president of 2020-28.
Yeah.
I support that message.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we get tied up with that.
I think, you know what it is too? It's because, like you said, not only is there no dating, it's more so you're always almost at your A game with the friends with benefits. It's always like, because there's going to be a control of, if they invite you over, what am I doing? You know what? I'm free. Boom, right? So you done worked out or whatever, and vice versa. Like there's control. So you already know you're going in like, oh, there's no pressure. It's just hooking up.
I think having sex with a friends with benefits, I equate it to driving a rental car.
He's on fire. He's on fire. Johan can't even handle it. He put his brick down, son.
I'm feeling it.
He's on fire.
When you get inside a rental car,
it feels
there's certain ways you're willing to drive that car because you know that you're giving it back.
Yep.
So there's a freedom that you have. You might put it in manual and start driving like the Fast and the Furious.
Just because.
You're not going to do that with your car.
No.
You could blow out your transmission.
And then what are you going to do?
So I think that is how we treat the friends with benefits. It's a rental car.
Marty.
It's only temporary.
She can't stand it.
You don't have to worry about maintenance.
Nope.
Who cares about the oil change? Who cares if you get a flat
not
tire?
on you.
Who cares if you crash it into the wall? You have full coverage.
It's not on you. $12.49 for the day. What, 2 days?
Now, your own car, there's no way you can drive your car the same way because you're invested to it.
I'm not going past 65.
That might have been one of the best points I've ever made on this podcast.
I'm it's almost like the Wingman episode times a million in the first 10 minutes. I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the other man's do-rag or what it is, but
this guy is cooking.
I'm flowing on this one.
You still in the kitchen? Because you're cooking right now, bro.
This is the reason. This is the reason why you hear this a lot with women, I think, I mean, obviously both the sexes do it, but you hear this a lot with women where they'll be in a relationship with a guy, but then they'll have their side quote unquote rental car like they like to use because they don't want to damage
the main
car that they're still making payments on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This guy's a regular Dominican Carrie Bradshaw. Like,
yeah.
I would have read the books and signed up for the podcast. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
mind blown. And the thing is too, like you said, you can adjust the seats however you want to. You also deleting everybody's from the Bluetooth because it's like, nah, this is my rental for 38 to 72 hours. And I'm gonna give it back.
Bro, there's it's just the freedom. That's what it's about.
It's the freedom.
The freedom
and
that
exploration.
You have. And look, you can get your car to a certain point where you love your car. This is your car.
It's your car.
And the rental car can only take you so much. You ever been in a rental car you had it for a couple days, and at the end of the thing, you just miss your car?
And you're ready to give it back?
Yeah. You're like, I'm done with this. This was fun, but I like my old reliable.
Yeah. Because the seats conform to you.
Yeah, I miss my car. Yep. And then you get inside your car and you're like, this is nice.
You have all your presets.
Right. But it's not gonna be as exciting as the rental car.
It's not the rental car is exciting, but the longevity and consistency of your main car.
Yeah. I've had I remember when I was young, when I was like in college, I had a girl, because I always have like a pretty cool relationships with the women I'm dating where we're like pretty honest about each other. And I also like, I mean, obviously I'm human and a guy, so obviously I have some sort of an ego, but I try not to like let it like thing. So I'm like, look, you could be like fairly honest with me, And also I think a lot of times, even when you're honest, like it usually isn't as surprising as they may think. Like if you're gonna be like, oh, sex is not exactly, great. It's like, oh yeah, I know. Like, you gotta be, I think, completely clueless and disconnected to not feel that, when you're connected.
Are you talking about with the main car or the rental? With
the main car.
Okay.
I think I mean, with the rental situation, and that's a weird way of putting it.
Kind of crazy. I know.
But it's usually always is like at least good, because you're not going to keep renting the same car if it doesn't drive good.
No.
So the chances of it being good, is usually better. Mm-hmm. But if you were, and I guarantee this, if you were to get into the, like with the friends with benefits, if you were to get into like a relationship with the person and actually be with them, the sex will decline.
It just naturally happens.
Yeah, because that's what happens.
It naturally happens because you're not just in Vegas for the weekend, or you're not in Albuquerque for the weekend. Now it's just like, hold on, what kind of gas do you actually use? Every 6 months, the oil change. You got to balance or rotate the tires. Now, it's all the external pressures that come with.
You could rent a Porsche in Los Angeles. That's nice. But if you're in Montana, what are you doing with a Porsche?
What are you doing?
This can't ride here.
That's not Porsche country.
Right. You need a Wrangler, something for off-road.
Because
and
mountains.
And I think that it's important to realize that. I think this is why the majority of friends with benefits never ends up in a relationship.
It doesn't.
Because if you did get it to there, you would lose that. You would lose the reason you're there.
My question is though, because now that we're in our mid-30s, right?
Of course.
And I have friends who have had, like, let's say, extended rental agreements where in between main long-term rentals,
if you will.
It's like, oh, you're a client here.
Mm-hmm.
You're what's the word I'm looking for?
Like a frequent flyer.
Yeah,
you have points.
And then just depending if the stars line up, if like maybe you're in between vehicles, both parties are in between vehicles, it's just like, okay, let's spin the rental back. But for some reason they know that it's never good past the rental agreement. Why is that? What is that?
I think,
where does that come from?
Because I think when you are with your partner, there's different things that, like, it's not just empty sex, right? There's different things. If you're mad at them for doing this, if they're mad at you for that, if there's different things that you bring into it every time. And as a couple, you got to like fight through it and try to get back on the same page. But there's different things that you bring into that every time, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, when you're on vacation, everything is perfect. It might feel like you with a rental. because you away, but then you come back home and now you
Mortgage,
fighting again. There's bills. You're mad at this. You're mad at that. So it's
kids,
hard.
Parents,
Yeah.
school. Yeah, it's definitely it's not easy, bro.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Have you ever dated someone where you felt that that you weren't being as sexually active as previous or as much as you would want?
I think that happens in every relationship.
Mhm,
It's happened in every relationship. But I think as I've gotten older, I
enjoy it.
Yeah, but I've also like let go of like the preconceived notions, because I think when I was younger, when you're younger, you thinking everything is what's the show on HBO? Not your romantic comedy.
Sex and the City.
On Max. That one, but the other one, Entourage. You thinking life is Entourage. You thinking like, you know, and then it's just like, nah, that's not how it works. And then you go through self-discovery or whatever, and then you realize that, hold on, like, I got a lot of my things that I got to work on. And then like, you know, your partner is working on their own things, and you start to realize like, oh, that's a person too, you know? And like ups and downs where, like you said, like none of this is ever being discussed, but it's not discussed what a woman actually goes through on a day-to-day basis. And then you have to like sit down and learn with it and realize that you care about that person. It's like, oh, okay, so it switches things for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's I get that 100%. And as you get older, obviously that's the thing. Sometimes I think it's tough for me because I'm so used to like all my girlfriends, every girl that I've ever like been in a relationship with or been, you know, active with. I feel like they were always like, we were just always both so into each other.
Yeah.
Like they were into me and I was into them.
Yeah.
So that's like what I know as norm. So when you know that as norm and somebody doesn't give you that, it's easy to feel like, oh, it doesn't seem like they're into me like that.
Yeah.
Which is cool. If you're not, that's cool. Like again, I don't have that ego, bro. Like I've had both. I've had women hit me up the night before their wedding to tell me how much they're gonna miss renting me. And I had the opposite.
1264?
I had the opposite. So I live in the middle. I don't let that gas me up, but I also don't let the other thing bring me down.
Yeah, definitely. Like honestly, bro, life is about balance. It is about like trying to get that balance. And then you bring up a funny part too of like as I've gotten older, I realized too that sometimes when you're working on a project and like even comedy, for example, like I must imagine that when you're getting ready for your special or you have like a really big gig coming up, like you kind of tend to lock in, right? But that also comes with like cutting out external factors. You're so focused on what you're doing, and then you still need to have that, but then you also have to realize that you're in a relationship, and that's what I've had a lot of trouble in the past with, because I didn't know how to do both. And I'm still figuring it out, because it's things that I know I have to cut out all of these distractions, and I can turn into almost monk life where all I eat is rice, beans, and I work out, and then I focus on getting what I'm doing. But then, hold on, like, no, it's my birthday, or it's like family's coming into town, and I'm still struggling with adjusting to that.
Okay, look, obviously we're in it on this episode.
Yeah, we're here. We're here.
It's vulnerable time. Play some vulnerable music, Johan. It's vulnerable time.
Throw that issue on.
We're being vulnerable, and we're laying it all out there. Here's the issue that I have.
Talk to me
with this. My issue is, and this is gonna, I don't know how this is gonna sound, but I'm gonna be as honest as I can.
Just talk, B.
I try not to have an ego, right? I try not to let my ego dictate the person that I am and the actions that I do. With getting older, I've been getting better at it. I hope to achieve a point where the ego's no longer being in charge of the stuff that I do. But sometimes I feel that I've had this in relationship where I feel like I'm being played with. And my response to being played with is, I'm going to show you who I am.
Because don't play with me.
Right. And by that, obviously, I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about like, if you making me feel like I'm not wanted, I'm gonna show you how wanted I am.
And show you how not wanted I could make you feel.
Right. So it's like, that is a slippery slope. That's not healthy. That's not good.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with that. And as I've gotten older, like I said, I've been trying to fight it.
Yeah.
Because my quick, like where I go to is like, oh, I'm not wanted. So let me show you what my DMs is like, right? Let me show you the caliber. Because sometimes, and again, I don't think this is me because I'm so attractive or, whatever. But sometimes because depending on the line of work that you do, the level of girls that you're privy to that are surround you, right? They go up as you rise, right? Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, if you like
knew what was going on,
right? Then you would. But I would never bring it up because that'll ruin a relationship.
It definitely will. But my question is, do you think that so is it actually that they're withholding something from you, or is it just like your perspective? Like, because for me, when that happens, I think my mind just starts racing. I got transparency, ADHD, and then anxiety and all of the keywords. I got all of that. So it's just like, and then I'm trying not to smoke anymore. So I feel like I was using cannabis to suppress all of those feelings and suppress my mind racing all of the time. And I'm not smoking anymore. So now everything's intensified. But the times when that does happen, I actually just address it. I'm like, yo, what's up? This is how I'm feeling. So like, is it because you don't trust your partners enough? And not trust in the sense of like cheating or whatever, but trust to like share that emotion with them. Cause I think that's what happened to me. Like when that happens, it's just like, I have to address it and be like, this is what I'm feeling. And then my girl will be like, what are you talking about? I'm actually busy and I have a life too and I have a career. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I feel that in the past, I have tried to be vocal about it and do try to come to the table and have a conversation that's like, this is how I feel. But women are human too. Yeah. They feel like sometimes you tell them something and they take it the wrong way too. Yeah. They get offended too. They you coming at them with like good faith and just trying to like express how you feel so you don't make a dumb decision and do something that's going to jeopardize your relationship. But they get insecure too. And when a woman like gets insecure, they'll try to like
let you know,
like and they'll try to like low blow you, which that's kind of. And then
you're a petty battle. Then you're in a petty battle.
You're in a petty battle, which I stay away from those.
Yeah, they're not good.
Because it's like, I'm not gonna say that you're not gonna win. Obviously, there are girls that would win because there are girls that do live a certain type of level of life. And they were like, oh, if they showed you their DMs, there's nothing but like basketball players, athletes, and rappers in there. So those girls is like, whatever, all right, you got it. But also, even with those girls, it's like, yeah, but these guys, they're trying to have sex with you.
And that's it.
It's not like, these guys are just like I would say 95% of them are just lying, just telling you what you want to hear so they can get you into bed.
They're trying to use it as a rental.
Right. So you think that you have like high value, but you don't. I mean, they're just trying to use you. So there's that. But I get it. If your DMs are full of like rappers and whatever, bunch of verified accounts in your DM, I get it. But sometimes when a girl tries to like low blow me, I look the other way because I'm like, I don't really need to do this. Like seriously, and a lot of times it might not make me feel good, and it might not. I may feel, like, damn, that's a low blows hurt.
It sucks. Yeah,
they call them low blows for a reason. Yeah, but I always try to be the bigger man, and I'm like, I ain't even going.
I'm not stooping down to your level.
Yeah, I ain't going to stoop down to your level.
For sure. You know what also helped too is like, and I don't know if I fully expounded on this, but like when I did my ayahuasca journey, when I did my plant journey, my ego was not only destroyed, it was melted, and then like I came back with a different like perspective on all of this. So it's just like, now you're able to see things like that happen from a mile away. And it's just like, you know what? Peace be unto you. Do you keep it pushing?
Bro, I think I got to do so. I think I got to do, because I know there's a lot of dudes who listen to this podcast.
Shout out.
Who I know for a fact, because they listen to this podcast, that, they want to do better. They might have been in a relationship or somewhere they weren't their best self and they want to do better. But people don't talk about how difficult it is, because some women will be like, it's so easy, just don't sleep around or don't do this, don't do that, which on paper it looks easy, but once you throw ego into it and you have that like, I want to do better, but men be fragile too, you hurt a guy's ego. Don't
look at all the world wars.
Yeah.
Where do you think that come from?
Well, her ego, bro. Especially a man that can,
bro.
That's the thing. A man that can.
I got a wild radical theory, bro. I feel like racism,
radical theory music,
racism, and all kind of like whatever started because I feel like it was a slave or it was a black dude that was making fun of one of them white dudes back in the day. Like, look at your wig or something. Because, we always making jokes. And then he took that and just ran with it. And then look at 2024.
Yeah, no, the ego is fat. And again, I'm not making an excuse for them. I think we got to be better.
Yeah, of course.
That's literally why I said I think I got to go on the ayahuasca journey.
That would be. I think that's content, Marty. We take Ian to the jungle in Peru.
Yeah. To try to
that's
be better.
Content for your ass.
Because my thing is, even though I may be able to look the other way on pettiness,
you still feel it though.
My pettiness is like, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm gonna just man up and take it, but then I might go to the streets and do something.
Yeah.
That's not.
And then, like you said, the most dangerous man is the man that can, because there's also a lot of dudes that don't have that, I guess, privilege. So like they're just stuck, and then they might take it and it might come out in a totally negative, different way versus you. It's like, oh, okay, and I have access to it. So that's the most dangerous. Yeah,
right. That I think it's a double-edged sword because it's like
gift and a curse.
Yeah, it's like the fact that you have other options allows your ego not to be fragile and super hurt if a girl says something.
Yep.
But then the fact that you have other options also makes you more susceptible to pursue those options. So you're fighting a war on two fronts, if you will.
I think, was it Chris Rock or was it Kanye that said that like a man is only as faithful
Two of the greatest thinkers of our time.
As his options, right?
Yeah, I think that was Rock.
That was Rock, right? Yeah. And it's true.
Because people was talking about, when people were talking about Tiger Woods and judging Tiger Woods, and these men that, have regular 9-to-5s for UPS, judging Tiger Woods, the number one golfer worth $300 million
in the world.
And it's like, bro, you don't have the same type of options. So maybe just keep your mouth shut on this one.
Yeah, keep that to yourself because you're not in those rooms. And like, I think people fail to realize just how much gets thrown at you once you start climbing. I mean, you see it, right? You was with the NASA's or something in the Bentley and you just see it. And you were just, My cousin, one time he told me that one of his homeboys was a rapper in Ohio and he pulled up in the Phantom. And he said the same thing that you said, where it's just like you get in there and you're like, I can see why women, just disrobe as soon as you get in.
I could see the allure to that. I can see that. I mean, it's superficial.
Yeah.
But we're superficial beings.
In the beginning.
So it makes sense. I mean, you got to work on it. You got to work on it every day.
Every day, bro.
Especially now, this coming out when? Sunday, July 21st. It's the middle of summer. I know there's people listening to this right now like, bro, you are hitting it on the nail. Like, I've been arguing with my lady. I got all these chickens calling.
And we're not talking about Popeye.
Yeah, and I want to come home to roost.
And that was not a rooster.
That was a wolf, I think.
That's definitely a wolf.
But y'all get it. Y'all get it. I'm telling you, I know when this episode drop, we gonna have dudes
blowing up
on the side, like, yo, bro, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you. I want to get like a woman's perspective on this. What do you think, Johan? What's your opinion on it? How do you feel? You ever been you dated a problematic girl, so I know you've been emasculated.
Woo.
Yeah, I mean,
she was a problem.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like we were so young. The last time I was in a relationship, I was really young, and
it was 2 years ago.
No, but
literally, COVID had happened already.
No. But I think like she kind of set me up in a way where I didn't have like any options that I had going into the relationship.
She took them out.
She
can't
see. You were a young lad, and you didn't have the Adulthood podcast.
We're here for you.
So I could see this girl. I mean, she knows what she's.
Was she older?
You know what she's doing.
No.
She was your age, but she was cut from a different cloth.
Oh, for sure.
Cut from a different cloth. I remember you saying that. I've seen women operate like this. Have you seen this, Marty? Like when their first line, and it's really just a sign of insecurity, but really. When their first line of defense is always like to shit on you. Like, oh, you ain't shit. I mean, guys do this too, of course. This is like the number one way to manipulate, a woman, just like to kill her self-esteem, right? But I think women do it like back too, like to guys too. They try to do it. I've seen guys where they doing this, and like they're being like the bigger person about it because they like them or they want to save the relationship. But I've seen that like publicly.
That's on the red flag highway, and people like they pass that exit and they keep going, but it's blaring. It's right there. It's just like, why are you talking to me like this? Why do you need it?
Yeah, if you get into an argument with your partner and your first thing is to like try to hurt their feelings, like you have a problem. Like you like that's not cool.
You need the adulthood pod.
No, like seriously, that's not cool. Like that's not how you should argue with your partner. I'm not saying don't argue. Obviously, you're gonna argue. You're with each other all the time, but you shouldn't want to hurt them,
bro.
Like on the argument.
But that's also like you're getting high level because that's obviously repressed trauma that's coming out. That's number one, and then number two, that's like lack of communication skills. So it's just like two major important things that like any healthy functioning adult would want in a relationship, because people argue, right? But you also have to find a way to disagree with someone without trying to like basically pull all of their like emotional value down. Like
I've had that before. I had that before where I've gotten into an argument with my partner and I'm like they'll say something and I'm like, you're trying to hurt me. Like this is a weird way of arguing. Like I'm supposed to be your man and you're trying to hurt me. Like this is screaming that you're hurt.
I can just go get milk. It's downstairs.
Right.
You don't have to,
right. When I read it, I'm like, this is screaming that you're hurt. Because hurt people hurt people.
That's what they do.
There's no desire for you to like try to hurt someone if you're not hurt. Like you can just say your point and keep it pushing.
You're cooking right now because it's also, the people who don't really take time in between like serious relationships and they just jump into another serious relationship. There's things that you have to unpack from that. Like, because the closer you are from the breakup, then that's how like intense those feelings are going to be. But the more more time passes, depending on where you're at in your life, it should be like, okay, like you can approach it with clarity. Like, I don't think I handled this one too good.
Sure,
or
we've all been there.
You know what? Maybe I should, you start taking, at least hopefully you get to a point where you start to take some accountability. And then it's just like, also like you can draw the line. Like, I actually did not like this. You crossed the boundary or whatever. And then you move on. But to just go from a relationship to another serious relationship and you haven't unpacked any of that, like you said, hurt people, that hurt and stuff is still there. And then you get triggers. Like triggers are a real thing.
Yeah.
So then somebody might just like do something on accident. Like my thing is too is like when it's unintentional. Like if somebody does something unintentional, but then the reaction is to blow up, then it's like, oh, hold on. Like I did not mean to finish all your Frosted Flakes. My bad.
Yeah.
I'll go to the bodega. It's only $5.99 for the king box, and then, but for you to be like, fuck your mom and
you bring up a good point because I think triggers is important to remember that. Like if you triggered and you maybe you say something that's mean or that you don't mean, that's one thing, right? That'll happen. You should try to avoid it, but I've been there. I've done it. And I try to like immediately apologize and just be like, I didn't mean that. I didn't think that. I kind of just lost my cool.
Yeah.
We're humans though. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
But certain people that just like, you ever been having a normal conversation with somebody, which may be an uncomfortable conversation, right? It may not be like the most comfortable conversation, but it's not an argument.
No.
But you feel that their response to the uncomfortableness is to like be mean or rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, why are you being mean?
Where's this coming from?
Yeah. Like I'm just expressing what I think about something or how I feel about something. And your response is to like be rude or like attack me.
And then my question is also too, and like in those instances, has it been you're coming at an idea? Because another thing too that I've noticed is that some people are like married to their idea.
Oh,
it's like, hold on.
Oh yeah.
This is not at you. I'm just trying to. And then another thing too is I'm asking questions so I can understand, because clearly like I'm not seeing it how you're seeing it. So I'm asking questions so I can, better articulate my point. And then next thing you know, it's just like a total shift.
Yeah.
Like, where did this come from?
I mean, I've realized on the quest of like dating and being in relationships that I'm not the easiest person to be with, but I do, and I stand on the fact that I always have like good intention. Like I never approach a situation with like bad intentions.
Yeah.
And if there's a problem that I have, I do my best to correct it and fix it.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't.
No.
A lot of people refuse to see that they have a problem. They refuse to acknowledge that they have a problem. And they're just always on the defense.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be on the defense with your partner all the time.
All the time.
Like that's weird.
No.
Like, you should talk to a therapist and get that cleared up. Like you shouldn't feel just because I said I didn't like that show that I'm attacking you.
Or, bro, I've had an instance where I was just like, hey, and I remember specifically, this is like probably 1 or 2 years out of college or during college. And I was seeing a girl and she had anger issues, like real anger issues. And I was just like, hey.
Yeah, I've been there.
I think you need to see someone. I said it in the most, tranquil, I'm coming from a place of support. I'm noticing something. And when it was almost World War III. And I was just like,
yeah,
whoa, this is not the reaction I was expecting. But then fast forward a couple of years after we both grew up, she was just like, I'm sorry about that. It took her a couple of years, but she apologized. But then she was just like, it's because it was too much truth for me to handle. Have you ever had that also? Where
for sure. I mean, I've been on both sides of that.
Yeah, exactly. You're too spot on, and I wasn't ready to handle this. So it's just like lash out, attack, because your vulnerability is exposed.
Now, have you ever in maybe past relationships had your girlfriend at the time like try to bring up like her exes in reference to you and what they did, in the sense of like maybe like my ex, or even like with sex, like my ex, I never had a problem with my ex, something like that?
Yeah.
You had that?
Yeah.
And how'd you handle that?
In my youth, in my younger time, I would be very offended and I would shut down and I wouldn't talk, and then it would lead to a bigger blow up, and then I wouldn't handle my emotions, and then next thing you know, it would be like 2 or 3 months later, and then I would have a big blow up, and it's not because of what happened in the moment, it's because of
I'm kind of impressed that you could. I'm kind of impressed that you were even able to last 2-3 months without imploding, because I think like once you do that, because I had that happen to me, and I'm gonna be honest, it didn't make me feel, I wasn't mad at the person who did it, because I'm like, if you're being honest, if this is just what you think, like, fine, like I can't get mad at what you think. Like it's unfortunate, right? Because obviously, if you are in a relationship with somebody, you want your connection to be the best connection, right? So if they say something like, oh, I never had whatever, like it was, let's say hypothetically, like sex was better with my ex, which is like a wild thing to say.
That's such a wild thing.
That's a wild thing to say. But I think at the end of the day, if you're being honest, I ain't mad at you.
Yeah.
I don't think that, honestly, I think that's hard to come back from.
There's no coming back from.
Yeah, I think that's a very difficult thing to come back from.
Yeah. But
I'm not mad at you, because if you're being honest, you're just being honest. But if you're not being honest about it, then I think you're a piece of shit, because you're trying to low blow your partner. For no reason. But like,
or for a reason that unless you're trying to break up, why are you doing that?
Right.
Because that's another thing too, where it's like people don't understand. It's just that some people be so locked into their feelings that they have no awareness that somebody else has feelings, right?
Some people are, I'll just say it. Some people are legitimately emotionally retarded.
Legit. that's the thing.
I mean retarded in like the medical way. Like they're emotionally.
There's no emotions of like sociopath,
right?
Like
they don't know. They don't know. Like they just kind of live their life with their emotions on their sleeve and constantly doing shit and then apologizing for it later.
But the thing is, then you meet someone where that apology is not going to work. And that was another thing that I noticed too, where it's just like, one person was so used to just how life had gone for her. And I was just like, nah, that's not how it works for me. And like, I don't bring that kind of energy to you.
I'm like that.
I'm not bringing, I honestly, like you said, my intentions are always just positive. Yeah. Why would I bring negative? Bro, life is hard. Why would I make life intentionally harder? You know what I mean? But then it was just, okay, I'm pulling away. And then the fact that I was pulling away almost got flipped, because it was just like, well, you should be stronger than that, and this and the third. It's like,
no, this is why men have the number one highest suicide rate in the thing, because we're supposed to be the strongest, and we're supposed to, you just gotta suck it up, you just gotta man up, you just gotta take it. You're not allowed to have feelings. If you say anything, you're bitching. If you're not allowed to, you just gotta take it.
and if you don't,
be a man.
yeah, and if you don't say anything, then you shut it down, but then you being distant. So it's just like, okay, you know what? No,
Yeah.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. I think for men or women or whoever, if in an argument you reference your exes with your current partner, I don't know. I think that
There's no coming back.
I think it's very hard to come back.
Yeah.
I think, theoretically you could come back from anything, but I don't think that's something that they'll forget. And also it's like, if it's true, like I said, I can't get mad at you, but it's like, if you're trying to hurt my feelings, you're not hurting my feelings, because I also have exes that say the same thing to me about me to their, that would, or think it at least to their ex. And also at the same time that you're sitting there telling someone that your exes were better or you never had complaints about them, there's another universe where your ex is sitting with his girl telling her that she's the best he ever had.
That, and also your ex is like, oh, I'm so happy I'm not with you because I can't stand you because you get into arguments like this.
Right. Exactly.
And another thing too is just the fact that, like, okay, then go be with your ex.
Right. That's the
what are we doing here?
Right. That's the thing that I think women might be able, I don't know. You tell me what you think. I think sometimes women can handle things a lot better than men could, especially like, cause they don't have this huge ego weighing them down sometimes.
Except breakups.
What breakups is different, but I think like you might be able to say it to your girl and she might be able to take it cause is there like a word for women? Because like for when you try to make a man feel like he's not a man, is emasculated. Is there like a word to try to make a woman feel like she's not a woman? Is there like a word or a term? Is that a thing? I don't even think it's a thing.
That's a great question.
I don't think it's a thing. I think it's more just breaking down the societal expectations on women. So beauty, like, goodness, like the concept of being a good girl, like breaking those down.
Yeah. You can make a woman not feel pretty, like not feel like she's the prettiest girl, right? Make her feel like there's prettier girls out there.
Yeah. I think that's the closest though, to emasculation.
Right. But it's not emasculation.
Yeah.
Which emasculation is an interesting thing, because the masculinity is tied with a lot of times being like, very like rah. So if you're trying to emasculate, which is kind of like diminish that, the opposing thing is for me to be more rah, to show you that. I mean, the real way you deal with it is you don't let it get you out of thing, and you understand that, first of all, everyone's entitled to have their opinion and you shouldn't be offended by it. Like at the same, look, everybody I think I would argue to say that everybody in the world who's been sexually active has sexual partners who think they're great and sexual partners who don't think they're so great.
It's balance.
Right? You just live in the middle. No one's batting 100%.
Nobody.
Even like professional sex workers, like porn stars or whatever, you hear them talk about and they'll be like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I didn't like this guy.
In baseball, if you hit 300, you're in the Hall of Fame.
Right. So I think it's like that. So it's like you shouldn't let the opinion of one person really bring you down like that. I mean, when it's your partner, I guess it does bother.
You shouldn't. And then I was going to say this earlier, it just came back to me about like also like the comparison of just like social media too, because it also, it inflates that ego of you think you have way more options than you really have. I think it's like an inverse relationship, because as a guy who's doing whatever, you might think that you have more options than you have because of social media and Tinder and everything like that. But then I think on the opposite side of the scale, like women have way more options than they realize because of the internet and like people thirsting.
Well, I think we've gone to a point where with Instagram and TikTok where I think it's the same on both sides, where women think they have more options than they really do also. because they have guys in their DMs. Like I think if we were to audit, like let's say one of these girls, one of these Instagram girls, these beautiful Instagram girls, which seems like they're unlimited. Like they're just
legit. They just come from everywhere.
You're like, I've never seen this one. She has 1 million followers. I never heard of her. They're unlimited. But I think if we did an audit of their DMs, it's probably full of men soliciting them, right?
1,000%.
But if we audit it and really unpack like who these men are, the percentage of men that are actually worth it, I would say would be under 5%.
I agree.
Under 5% of the guys in your DMs, would you even give a chance to?
Exactly.
And then when you unpack those and you really boil it down to like, all right, well, this man's married and he's lying about it. This man's promised you something that he's not going to do.
Yep.
This man is clearly just looking for sex.
Yep.
This man lives on the other side of the country.
Yep.
This man lives on the other side of the world. This man's secretly gay.
Yeah. Then when you dwindle it down.
When you boil it down, I think less than 2% of the men in your DMs are actually worth it.
Yeah, that's true.
And yet you're living your life thinking that both men and women thinking that the people in your DMs are options.
When they're not.
If you're looking for sex, yes. If you're just looking for sex, the options are 100. They skyrocket. But if you're over your 20s phase where you just want to have fun
and looking for meaningful,
and you're trying to have a meaningful connection with somebody where you can build, I think it's under 2% in DMs. What do you think, Marty?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think there's good stuff in there.
There's really not. It's really not.
Yeah. Because that's not, I mean, every once in a while, there's love, you hear about love that came that way.
Yeah, but for the most part.
But that's not the rule.
No, it's not. And for the most part, that love is just only like, it's superficial. It's on the surface level because, with all of these insecurities that we just put out to the world and to the internet, that's a level of transparency that I don't think you're going to get from most relationships that you started with someone on the DM, from sliding in the DM.
Yeah, I mean, now, I'm going to be honest, now it's pretty normalized.
The slide?
Yeah, like I think now it's a legitimate way to meet a partner.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you can go from the DM to wedding.
Yeah. But then like, it's also, I mean, I'm just taking averages and taking bets, but do you think those people, I mean, again, there is success rates, right? But it's also how many people are taking the time to really like work on themselves. You know what I mean?
Not a lot.
Because it takes,
I think more than ever.
Yeah, definitely.
But not a lot.
Definitely, because it takes a lot to on both sides of the spectrum, it takes a lot to be in a relationship with someone who's actually like trying to transition, because that doesn't get spoken about also. Not transition is not, I'm not using it correctly, but like, I mean like go from a place of like traumas and all of these different emotional traumas to being in a place where they're more whole and centered, because that's a journey in of itself.
Yeah.
And you have to be of a different caliber of person to know that, understand that, and like you said, be able to not take things personal too, because there's going to be triggers, there's going to be a lot. So, I don't know if that's happening in the DMs. If it is, shout out.
Marty, what do you think, like, because I'm interested to see this when it comes to like women who date women. Do you ever find that you like, and I'm trying to make this not sound bad, but you ever find yourself on a thing of like, all the women that I'm dating are the same. Like they just end up being the same.
That's deep.
Like you start off with somebody and then you think things are different, but then after a while they just become the same. And you're like, am I the reason that they become the same, or are they generally just the same?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. I wonder more if it's me. Like my brain will go there. I'll be like, oh, it's me. I'm initiating the same responses. And I'm attracting the same energy. And then it's almost like I'm seeking it out, but I don't quite know why.
Why?
And I think I believe that more, because that is like, that's been I think that holds true, but that's not just true with me. Like I've heard a lot of people say that, like that they're in the same relationships, they're having the same problems. You think you're starting like a fresh start. And
I mean, naturally it has to be you then, right?
Yeah.
If you're going on the same
you're
thing.
the common denominator.
You're the common denominator in these stories, right?
Yeah.
And but I think like the thing about that is that's when it's really hard to kind of stop and be like, all right, that's when it's really hard to be alone. Because it's like you almost have to then be like, I'm willing to be alone. And like alone is like the biggest taboo thing. Like you're talking about how to support someone while they make this jump. It's like almost you can't. The person has to be willing to be alone. And
yeah. I feel like I've been dealing with the opposite where, as you know, and I'm not saying I'm some like giving up on dating. Really, obviously, I'm like a young dude who's never been married or nothing like that. But I find the opposite where like now I'm starting to think like, am I just a dude that's just meant to be alone?
no, I think that we're meant to be alone in different parts of our life.
Yeah.
Like
I'm a loner just in general. Like I live alone. I'm do stand up. I'm always alone. Like my life is kind of a lone life. Like, and it's not like on some sad shit. This is how I've built it. I enjoy
This
it.
is what you wanted.
Yeah. I enjoy like living like a life where I'm responsible for me. I'm in control of my life. I'm in control of everything that happens in my life. And sure, there's ancillary people in it, like my family or a girlfriend or, you know, people who I'm seeing at the time. But for the most part, I'm in control and I enjoy that. And I'm lately I've been wondering, like, am I just that guy? Like, that's a guy too.
It's a guy, but you know, no disrespect to any exes or anything like that. But it's just, I feel like it's just you haven't met the right person yet.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what it comes down to.
But people say that, but my therapist, I remember talking to my therapist and he brought up the fact that people say that and there's no right person.
no.
He's like, you have to work. You have to actively work at making it better. You're going to fight. It's going to happen. You have to work with somebody you want to work with. You could maybe make it work.
That's what I meant. That's what I was trying to mean. Like, it's the right person. Like, there's not going to be a one fix all, right? It's going to be, but it's also, this is the person that like I want to work on things with.
Yeah.
And that comes, I don't know where that comes from.
For somebody that's willing to work.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's willing.
That's another
or like
thing. Yeah.
accepting of like knowing that they need to work.
Right. I think somebody willing to work, that's like the number one most important thing. But then also when you're into work, you're like, this is a lot of work.
This is mad work.
Well, I mean, I think we also put so much store on romantic love. And that's like a really toxic thing that our society's kind of grown around. And I think like, I don't think that if you decide like not to, like in my head, I think about it and I'm like, oh, if I ever want to be in a place where I don't want to be with another person, I don't think that means that I'm going to have any less amount of love in my life, but you have to work at that.
Yeah.
Because like that takes just as much work as like curate like a romantic relationship is like really growing those other bonds in your life and doing that. And I think that we don't put nearly as much store around that. And that like having those relationships, like that doesn't mean that you're, you know, there's a million things that you can do in your life and that you're going to do. Like nobody's gonna be a loner their entire life.
Yeah.
Like where you said like there's that guy, like that it's not gonna stay that person their entire life. Like that might be an era that they're in, but like not a
my fuck.
I mean, there's incel.
well, I mean, the way I'm kind of saying it is like I'm never gonna be like I'm not a hermit, right? Like I'm around people every single night. I'm around more people than anyone, right? I'm doing shows for 200-300 people every night. And I meet them and I talk to them and they DM me and I talk to them and I travel and I meet people. Like I see it more of like, am I gonna be like a George Clooney guy who's kind of like just dating, just a habitual dater, which is like I date this girl for like whatever the time is. We don't work out, we break up, and who's next? And then you date her, and then now he's married because he's 60.
But maybe
he's
that's
60
it.
plus.
People live into 100.
Why is that bad? That just means you have a lot of love in your life.
What?
If you just date somebody, as long as you're not habitually being hurtful or hurting people, like there's nothing wrong, I think, with doing that and then having it kind of move on and then going into another era of your life and then doing it again. And maybe you'll get married at 60.
I guess we kind of look at it as we've put a bad label on it, right? About not getting married and.
But like I was watching Derek Jeter's 30 for 30 or something.
That's a good one,
right? And he was saying that he couldn't have gotten married while he was playing for the Yankees because he was just so into it. And he didn't want to disrespect whoever he was going to be in a relationship with because he knows that like it comes with a lot. And I must imagine being like you're trying to take it to doing arenas, right? Like doing world tours in Japan. I'm going to be there, you know, konnichiwa and everything. So I am so selfish, right? But like the way you have to lock in and you know, I must imagine that you don't have the time to just be casually and doing the things that come with being in a relationship, the family barbecues, the holidays, the travel, where you're like, no, I need to work. I gotta work. So, but you probably get to a point where you're like, all right, I accomplished everything. And then now you have more room to invite that into your life. Right. You know what I mean?
It's funny because Derek Jeter did say that and did do that, but then he got with his wife who was a model and he made her quit.
Still Derek Jeter.
Become a wife, you know, which I get it. You know, I get it. That's interesting. I'm gonna rewatch. That's an interesting perspective of like, you know, as long as I'm at this level, you know, whatever, at my major leagues, am I, you know, is having a wife a realistic thing?
I mean, I wonder, like on that topic, I wonder sometimes if that's just like a mental block that you put on yourself unwillingly, like thinking that like, oh, I'm not going to have time for this. Like, you know, you're just saying that, but in reality, you don't know if you.
Sure. But certain things in life require you to put a mental block in order to be successful. Yeah. So you could be doing that, but it can also be true, right? Like when Derek Jeter comes up to bat and his base is loaded and he's at the thing, he has to put a mental block on everything that's going on in order for him to be successful. Like he has to pretend that he is the center of the universe, it's just him, and no one is there, right? And at that moment, that's his reality. Is that reality? No. But to achieve success in that moment, you have to put up that mental block.
And that mental block also comes from, okay, I'm going to be in the cage just 2 or 3 hours before practice and 2 or 3 hours after practice. Right. You know what I mean? It comes from, you know what, I'm not going on vacation before spring ball. So figure that out. Right. And that's not fair. Like, and
it's not fair to a girl unless it's a girl that's really willing to make that investment. You know?
Do you think that's person to person then? Like, do you think
of course. Get married.
There's some players that get married at 20. LeBron he met his wife when he was 17.
And he got 4 championships.
And got 4, you know, now his kid's in the NBA. Of course, that shout out,
Bronny. It all depends on the person.
And it depends on both people. It depends on the person, whoever the successful person may be, whether it's a woman or a man, and on their partner and what they're willing to sacrifice. Because the partner of a successful person has to sacrifice just as much, if not more than the successful
person. They eat a lot of
That's what I was like trying to like get to, is like, because maybe the reason people put that mental hurdle is because of their previous experiences where they've like been in relationships and then they see that the other person they're with isn't willing to sacrifice as much as what they need to. Yeah. So then when they get out of those relationships, they're like, oh, well, now I have this preconceived like idea or notion about that.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah. I guess my at the point in my life where I'm at is back to the thing where you're speaking to, where I'm trying to find out, like, am I the problem?
Awareness.
Am I the problem, and how do I fix it?
Yeah.
Awareness. How do I stop? You know, I think it's important, you know, people listening, asking the same thing. It's important not to be so hard on yourself, you know.
That's a good point.
Everything, you know, no one is 100% to blame for anything.
No, definitely not.
Especially when it comes to relationship, there's 2 people and they both contribute to how things happen.
And you also have your whole history that's contributing to that one individual person.
Right.
You know? So
like, it's important to take the situations and learn from them.
Definitely.
All right, we got deep this one.
You're welcome.
We good? Everybody feels good?
I feel great. You didn't even ask me about my Band-Aid.
We'll do it on the next one.
All right.
All right, guys. Volume 67. We're just going to end it because we got deep on this one. Volume 67, July 21st. Thank y'all for listening.
Shout out to Mike and my godfather.
Peace.
Later.